So, Travis, do you think the best way to combat declining interest in a show is to spend 3 hours telling viewers that the show sucks and then headlining with the guy who you say is the cause of the show sucking lately? I thought that was quite the interesting strategy.
This was one of maybe counterintuitive kind of episodes of Raw in a lot of ways. I don't know what was going through the minds of the people, and by people I mean Vince McMahon, what's going through his head when he decided to, acknowledge what's been, the kind of the critical mass that was reached last week, to acknowledge the critical mass, but whine like a baby and put it all on someone else. And then to give us this episode, which in some ways I thought with the interviews and the promos and the interviews backstage and interviews in ring were good. But like you said, it was we built up to a really good match, a good quality main event, really good. But I don't know, Wade. It was odd in a lot of aspects.
It was. I felt at times it was a poorly planned show. I felt like they wrote a 2-hour script and then realized, oh, this is a 3-hour show. We got a lot of long recap packages, and it seemed like at the end of the second hour, it seemed like maybe it was planned, or maybe the show was running short, and they just decided to give us a 7-minute recap of everything that happened in the previous 2 hours, making those who tuned in think, oh, that was kind of foolish of me. I could have tuned in now and caught up on the relevant stuff. That was weird, and then they did some more of that too. It was a strange show. I didn't think there was a ton. It wasn't as densely packed as I think you would want an episode of Raw to be. What'd you think of the payoff at the end, though, just in terms of the length and quality of the Corbin-Seth match?
It was good. It was. I assumed Seth was going to lose. I thought they were going to continue with the, Seth pops off and, hey, let's do this tonight, and he loses his title on TV. And I thought, because if they did that, I said, oh, well, they can still have the match with Dean, no title. Dean can win that, and not have to win the Intercontinental title. So I talked to myself early after the exchange, the opening exchange with Seth and Baron, is going, okay, well, at the end of the night, Baron Corbin's going to be the Intercontinental Champion. But so that was pleasantly a nice surprise at the end when Seth won the way he did. Really dramatic. I love Heath Slater's involvement and everything around that. So solid.
Yeah, I thought that the announcing, and this is just watching a lot of WWE over the decades, gave away each time that the match was about to end, that it wasn't going to end. And I hate to, say there is no Santa to WWE fans, but when there's a ref bump, and then you're watching what looks like a finish of a match, and the ref bump has not come into play yet, it's not the finish. So that was a little bit of a tell. And then
also the camera shots.
In what way?
The tight camera shot on someone climbing, so you can't see as a viewer who's running in the ring, and you have to pay attention to the crowd, because the announcers aren't going to give it away because they're looking at their monitors. They see what you see
ostensibly.
So you have to listen to the oohs and ahs and the watch out.
Yes,
that you get from the crowd. So again, all that gives you a feeling of the heart rate that can come down, because this isn't going to be. And he's not going to grab it here.
And the other thing is the announcers are talking about Seth Rollins retaining his title despite the odds. This is great. Now he has a chance to defend it against Dean, and he hasn't grabbed the belt yet. So he's not going to, because announcers don't talk about the end of a match accurately before the finish, because that would be anticlimactic. So all the cliches, all the things that Vince does so predictably in his clever reverse psychology that hasn't been clever for 30 years kind of came into play. Same thing with Baron Corbin. This is an injustice. This has to stop. It's like he hasn't grabbed the belt yet. You guys are talking like he did, so now we know he won't. That aside, and it's not nitpicking, because really I think more people than just me have caught on to this, and it's a little heavy-handed, or ham-fisted, I guess would probably be the term for it. So I'd like to have them clean that up. But I think the match had good action and was a good way to tease more than tease. I mean, but give a good dose of what is coming up on Sunday when Seth and Dean face off, and then there's some TLC matches in the mix, including the women's match. There was a lot of hype for TLC, which made me think, boy, it sure is better when there's more viewers, not fewer viewers. Because I hear the sort of ludicrous argument, well, they get the same money either way, so who cares? It's like, no, the show is still a promotion vehicle to make money in other ways. And with these record low ratings, fewer people are seeing these plugs for TLC is free if you're a new subscriber and getting people excited about it. I think the line that surprised me the most, though, Travis, and sort of we already covered it a little bit in broad terms, is they literally Seth acknowledged in his State of Raw address at the beginning that Raw has been drawing all-time low ratings. Mm-hmm. Now, why? Yeah, like, to me, if you're drawing all-time low ratings, there's a malaise among even people watching. And what you want to do is get them excited about the product. And the way to do that is to do what you have the power to do. You're not journalists. You can actually spin. And what you should do is celebrate record YouTube viewership. You should celebrate last week's SmackDown. Don't say that it was the lowest rated SmackDown ever. Say it was the #1 show on cable television last Tuesday. Talk about a 25-week streak of Raw being in the top 5 shows on all of cable on Monday nights. Spin it in your favor, and then say there's too many good things happening here for Baron Corbin to continue to put it at risk. Like, there's a way to frame it where you're being honest, you're putting out real facts. You can still make Corbin the villain and the heel who's putting at risk this, but you get to tell a story that your viewers can believe in. The vast majority of viewers are not going to pwtorch.com every midweek trying to see where the ratings are. They're not listening to this podcast, hearing us talk on the flagship about the all-time low ratings. So I was surprised they acknowledged it. They have no obligation to be honest in that way. And then they blame Baron Corbin for Drake Maverick peeing his pants and peeing on Bobby Roode's robe.
Yeah. Like, that was just utterly stupid. How do you blame the general manager? They're basically saying Corbin ruined this show because he became head writer. And he's putting this stuff in scripts. And then to blame him for favoring Lucha House Party over the Revival and have Seth come to the Revival's defense? That was just, the logic was thrown out the window. I was just shaking my head watching that going, this doesn't, I mean, I kind of see what they're doing and I don't agree with it, but at least do it well. And it just lacked any logic. And I think someone's going, why is Corbin favoring Lucha House Party over the Revival? And why is Seth in favor of the Revival? And what did Baron Corbin have to do with Drake Maverick peeing? Like, none of it made any sense. And it's bad television. The reason people aren't watching Raw, or so many people are turning out, is because it's a poorly written show. And that segment was an example of it just not making any sense. And when it doesn't make sense, it doesn't connect with viewers and they don't get invested and everything unravels. Yeah, they're trying to do, they're trying to be WWE. He's trying to be himself. He's trying to be Vince and do his stuff, but also acknowledge the obvious. But like you said, it's only obvious, and it's that audience bigger. It's as big as it is. It's still a small percentage of your general and wide audience. So
right.
Why are you talking directly to the internet, to people like, this show in the East Coast cast with the headline last week, with something in the episode about like record ratings low, and this week it's going to be, Vince McMahon blames, makes Baron Corbin take the brunt of his nonsense. Yeah. But again, he was trying to acknowledge, but when you acknowledge in this half-ass, this whack-ass way that. And then you still do the things that harm you and give that uproar. That's worse than just doing the bad thing. When you acknowledge, I know I'm terrible, but I'm still going to do this.
I know. Yes.
That's the part that gets me.
Yeah. Jax talked for 5 minutes, and then Ronda Rousey came out and said, "I'm not here to talk or strike my poses," which was a little inside baseball. And she goes, "I'm here to fight," runs in the ring. Jax and Tamina leave. They cut to a break, and they come back, and we get Tamina versus Ember Moon. Yay, they didn't bother mentioning that. I think they thought maybe it would be good to give Ronda a week off from alienating fans with goofy, quirky, oddball scripted promos? I don't know.
No, she just does it on Twitter, and she's a complete jerk and out of touch and completely oblivious and misses the point and doesn't get things. So it's good that it's not on TV, but on Twitter she's still a real piece of work.
Yeah, elaborate on that a little bit. What's she been doing on social media?
She gets destroyed every time she tries to have one of her long, like, Becky Lynch and her avocado toast, and her, she's just jealous. She's mad she doesn't have a penis, and she tries to get provocative, and Becky Lynch destroys her over and over again. And the comments, the people following those threads, it's never, I'm sure there are, but it's 99 to 1 of people that are like, damn, oh my God, Becky, you rock, Ronda, you suck. And then maybe somebody like, give Ronda a break, guys. And she's it's like, as far as social media wins goes, it's knockouts every time. And Ronda just comes back and over with her long soliloquies and her bullcrap Instagram posts, and Becky and everybody's there to shut her down. And Becky even oh my goodness, what she did to Charlotte last week with the I missed one show for this, and Charlotte missed a whole month for something I can't remember, and this was Becky's bloody face, and this something I can't remember was a shot of Charlotte's midsection or upper midsection, just her big old boob sitting there, and it was great. Becky, just don't go at Becky Lynch on Twitter. I advise that for everybody listening. But back to Ronda and Raw. I guess giving her a night off was fine, sort of. She got to come out, and she didn't strike her poses, but she got to be seen. I thought Nia Jax had a good promo, good go home money promo going into as a challenger, big heel, as a challenger for a title. That was more than serviceable. Like, I thought it was even good.
I think so too. I think I praise Nia more than most. I don't know if I don't know why. I think she does a better job than some people where I get some pushback on it. But are usually with her, or do you think she's usually pretty bad and this was an exception? Or do you think she's been improving and this was Yeah,
she's been improving. On the mic, she's gotten her facials. You've gotten over that. Oh, has such a pretty face, and can we take her seriously as a heel? Like, that was a thing at one point. So that we're well past that, and she's just connecting with her words. It doesn't feel like she's gotten good at not feel like she's saying someone else's words.
Yeah, I think so too.
What was either one of your guys' opinion on the Ruby Riott Natalya promo?
What'd you think, Travis?
I thought it was intense. I think Ruby Riott has it. So I pay attention to everything she's a part of now because she's got my antenna up. And this was good in her execution and all that. With the Neidhart stuff and the imagery, and it wasn't as I don't think it's as tasteless as maybe some people might think. It's like, I didn't do anything too gratuitous. Yes, she's making fun of, or she's poking at, somebody's dead, dying. But I really do think if Natalya had issue with this, she wouldn't allow this to be done. Really. I think she's okay enough, in the power structure and all that she was just like, nah, I don't, so that doesn't bother me. It was fine. It was fine. And I really liked Ruby Riott's part in it. I liked her execution.
I thought it was a little creepy. I wasn't offended. But I'm not sure that there's anywhere in real life where bad people use dead fathers to get under the skin of their daughters. I mean, maybe I just don't watch enough daytime television or something, but it feels like a little heavy-handed, a little trashy, maybe, to a little exploitative and all that. But it wasn't I didn't see it as a high crime as much as it was sort of I just kind of shifted in my chair a little bit going, oh, God, I don't know about this. As opposed to, oh, that Ruby Riott, I can't wait for Natalya to get her hands on her. It's brave when you ask Natalya, to stand mid-ring and carry a segment. They just haven't done that a lot with her, and you don't know how the fans are going to react. But I think she's got goodwill with the fans. They see her as, a genuine wrestling family, female wrestler who's had some good matches in NXT and all that. So I thought given that combined with the gravity of talking about her dad and I think not asking her to act as much, I don't think she got worked up about the sunglasses. I think she did feel real emotions saying his name on television. I think people would have connected with her in that way. So I don't know if that helps or hurts because it makes what Ruby said seem more exploitative because Natalya was having, I think, a genuine emotional moment in the ring talking about her dad, and that's where it sort of feels like it's exploitative. So, to me, if I'm WWE, I just take after Saudi Arabia and Roman Reigns and dismemberment and on and on. I just take a 3-month break. I just hire someone for just take an ad out and just say, are you someone who all your friends say is too pure and too PC? Well, would you like a job for 3 months? Because we need some help over here. And then just run everything by that person and let them veto everything that offends them a little bit or makes them think it's not tasteful. Just give us 3 months without having to slice and dice or worry about it.
They're going the other way, though. I've noticed that they're doing some raunchier, kind of edgier things. I mean, the whole, it was, started, maybe not started, but when Drake Maverick, peed on himself and then the next night or a week or two later, that's when it really kind of hit me they're really.
Is that edgy or juvenile though? I don't
No. It's totally juvenile. And I was going to say Vince scatological stuff. That's right in his wheelhouse, but they stayed away from a lot of that stuff. So it's kind of, that's when they're trying to, push, his version of pushing the edge, pee and poop jokes. Yeah. But they have been just the tone of some things, they've had some people say some pretty scathing kind of stuff. But back to Natty.
Yeah.
I thought tonight should have been the night where when that table got bought out, let Ruby finish, but her emotions on her face, I just thought weren't enough. You're upset and you're sad. The sunglasses thing where she broke down. That a couple weeks ago, fine, I get that in the moment. But now you're ready to tear this woman's head off, and then she brings out this table with his image on it. She should have had to be held back from Ruby should have been cutting that promo weary a little bit. Is she going to break through those refs? But I just thought it was just for Natty to stand in there.
That's a good point.
Ring, of just with the, oh no, she's hurting my feelings again. She's talking about my daddy. It was just go punch her in the face. She's right there. What are you doing?
No, that's really
through that table. You got the show. This is the go home show, and you're giving them this big spot. But have Natty almost put her through that table or something at least.
No, I think that's an excellent point. I mean, I think if your dad recently died and somebody comes out and does what Ruby Riott did, those are fighting words, and just stand in the ring does kind of, I guess, emasculate you a little bit, or I don't know.
In defense of the writing team who scripted Seth's promo in segment 1, I think they more or less wanted to have him appear as the locker room leader, as he said to Charlie Caruso in the backstage in segment 2, when he was mentioning about the revival, about, what Drake Maverick had done.
What they were trying to do.
Go ahead.
It was just, I know we get that. It was just, it's stupid. It's just not a good idea.
The idea is fine. The execution made absolutely no sense, and I have no idea how you can write that down. And there's nobody in that company behind the scenes on the whole writing staff for Vince who goes, wait, in our narrative structure, Baron Corbin is not responsible for what Drake Maverick does. That's not something he's what, that doesn't make any sense. So somebody needs to go, wait, why is Seth saying that? And the culture within WWE and the writing team is to not notice those things or not bring them up. And that's one of the things that I said a couple weeks ago when these, or I guess over a little over a week ago when the ratings have been dropping. I'm like, WWE just needs to write better shows. Like, that's one of the solution is Attitude Era or this or that. It's like, just make the show less insulting to people of some level of intelligence and scrutiny when they watch their entertainment. And the standards in WWE are so unnecessarily low. They're inexcusably low when it comes to this kind of internal logic. I didn't even bring this up yet because I was going to save it for our email because we got an email on it. But why are there referees for TLC matches when a referee can be knocked out and the person who rings the bell is in charge of declaring a winner? That totally goes against the whole history of WWE's narrative of why referees are there for matches when someone grabs a belt. Like, they decide where they want to end up, and they don't care how they get there, and people get disinvested because they feel insulted by it.
Yeah, there's such an I definitely noticed that, and I said there's such an easy way. Just don't have the bell ring, right? Like, Seth still leaves the IC champion, and now Baron Corbin has something to talk about. But having that bell ring immediately after when you look around, like, who rang it? The refs threw in a table or whatever happened to him, super kicked or something. It was the first thing I thought about. And it did a little bit. I mean, that matching the setup and execution and the finish was good, and then they had to end it with something so illogical, like that didn't make any sense. They
paint themselves into corners, and then it's like they just give up before they come up with a creative solution. And like, there's actually
they didn't even have to. The solution is to it's a ladder match. It ends in chaos. Everybody's down. Seth has the belt. It's 10:00. We gotta go.
Yeah, check out. Yeah. And
Seth's still the champion. Nobody thinks, oh, is he the champion? No, he's the champion. Or it's a no count, whatever. But
or Travis. Yeah. Seth just looks at Heath Slater and gives him a threatening look. And then he points at the ladder and says, I'm about to climb that ladder. You better call this finish. And he intimidates the hell out of him. And then he climbs the ladder, grabs a belt, and he looks scared. And then he looks off to the side, and he says, ring the bell.
Like, he's looking at Corbin. He's looking at him climb. Yeah. He's looking at Corbin's down body. He's looking up him. Yeah. Like,
and then Seth can drop down with a belt and say, do you want to stomp or do you want to ring the bell? I mean, there's just whatever. I mean, is it perfect? No, but it's like thousands of light years better than what they did. You know, like, I mean, it's just like, there's easy, what you said, what I just said, what people listening are probably conjuring up. What they did is like, nobody cares about that stuff. No one's paying attention to those details. You know why no one pays attention to those details? Because people who care about those details stopped watching. You know, so when you think nobody cares about that stuff, nobody remembers that, nobody cares about that. No, you've driven away everybody who cares about quality writing with integrity and logic. You drove them away. That's why nobody cares about that stuff who's still watching, or the people who are still watching are frustrated and not as supportive as they should be. So
the match itself, how you said it was awesome. I think.
Okay. Let me take that back. The match was fun. And when I say that was awesome, that's my gut reaction to anytime I get to see a title change live and I'm there for a title change. That's kind of a big deal. But I was thinking to myself, wait a minute. So they made this a handicap tag match so that they could take the belts off, and then AOP wouldn't have to take the pin. Obviously, I mean that's why Maverick took the pin. But then it's like, what does that say? What does that say about AOP though? Like, I don't. There was a little bit of weirdness around that.
What it says is Bobby Roode and Chad Gable are your new tag team champions because they beat a manager. They should have nobody who's a fan of that team should have any pride in what they accomplished. The idea that WWE announcers and we're selling this as a disadvantage because it's a 3-on-2 match is preposterous. It doesn't make any sense because when you add a weak link to that situation and it's 1-on-1. It's not tornado rules. Then if Drake's in the match, it's an advantage for Roode and Gable, just as it would be. It's not an advantage if I'm in a UFC octagon fight in a 2-on-1, because when I get tagged in, I'm going to get destroyed. That's not unfair to the opponent. It's unfair to my partner.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let me disagree with all of this. This is like classic Jim Cornette in a 6-man so he can take the pin, or Gary Hart,
but not for a take title.
Okay, I get. Okay, fine. But the idea that it's a disadvantage adding a third person, even if it's a half a person. 2.5 is better than on 2.5 on 2 is better than 2 on 2 as far as odds and what that guy can do. Don't tag in. You can still cause damage. Go around and pull the guy off the mat when a hot tag is about to occur, or off the apron when a hot tag. You don't have to be in the match because yes, you should get beat up until you're a heel and you get cocky and you tag yourself in, and it works the first time, and you dance around and you hit your poses and you run out and you tag the big guy in and he comes in. But late in the match, there are classic like heel.
I get that. There are examples in history of it being done well, and it's not done well when it's an idea that they had today with no build-up, with the heel manager they've done no character development for, with no backstory, and they put him in the ring, and they sell it to us as a disadvantage that Gable and Roode are going to have a chance to actually pin Drake Maverick to win the tag titles instead of the monsters that are AOP. So, to me, you're right. Yeah. You can create a... I believe most managers should be scared to death to ever have to be in a match. And it should be against their will that they're ever in a match, because they should be scared. But if you book it right, and you tell the story, and you create that foundation where, okay, Drake's getting cocky, I can't wait to see him get showing up, that's fine. You build that up for 2 or 3 weeks, and you let fans think about what could backfire. And you have Drake tell that story of, I'm not going to tag in until it's time to pin you guys. And when my AOP take care of you, I'm going to humiliate you, and I'm going to pin you. And you tell that story, and they didn't tell that story. And so now Gable and Roode are celebrating as tag champions because they beat Drake Maverick. That's emasculating to them. So I hated it. I thought it was just so... It's just so short-sighted. They're not thinking this stuff through. They're taking a derivative version of something that was well done in decades past, and poorly done at times too. Not everything in the past was well done, but they're doing ideas without that depth of detail that made it work the first time someone thought of doing it, and the second and third time and fourth and fifth time that someone else did it, because it worked. And they're leaving all the details out, and they're just throwing the concept out there without any internal logic to it. And so I think there's not a weaker way to become tag champs than pinning a manager. I just think it's not a momentum builder. Yeah,
my thought was Chad Gable to me was always a cornball, right? Yeah. Like, this cornball ass dude, like whatever. But he was always like kind of a lovable cornball guy that you wouldn't mind having around, especially when he was with Jason Jordan. Like, a couple of corny dudes, that get along. That's fine, endearing tag team. But now he's just, it has been since he's gotten with Bobby Roode, but he's celebrating and they're doing the backstage stuff. And I just was like, now he's just not a lovable cornball. He's just a flat out cornball that I don't agree. care about anymore. Like, tag title or not. Like, now, I didn't think about it too much as far as like being emasculating. Like, hey, they got a pin that was in the rules. They pinned the manager.
Well, they should have been the ones to outsmart. They should have lured Drake into their trap. Like, this shouldn't have been, it's a disadvantage. What's Baron Corbin up to? This is unfair. That's ridiculous. What it should have been is, something where they, again, you tell the story for 2-3 weeks and you add the layers and detail and it can be fun. And you lure Drake into the trap and take advantage of his cockiness and thinking he's tough because he's got AOP by his side. And then it backfires. And they didn't tell that story. So the satisfaction was reduced and the logic was non-existent.
Yeah, we've done that thing where we put more thought and stuff into it here in 5 minutes, 10 minutes than they probably did.
And this is stuff Vince doesn't think about or can't think about anymore at the stage that he's at. And the writers are just collecting paychecks, or they're not. I'm trying to be nice. They're not seasoned enough to even know that this stuff was once well done. And there's things that worked in wrestling that you can't just copy, but leave out all the things that made it work and then have it end up working. And you
made a great point with that. Like, they didn't build it up. They didn't, like, when Cornette or Gary Hart or somebody did it, it was, you're just because it's been done right doesn't make, because you countered that very perfectly. Yeah.
The Ember Moon, they hyped throughout the show. Face off, Nia Jax, Ronda Rousey, and I'm like, good, we're gonna have a Ronda Rousey promo to make fun of again. And she's like, I'm not here to strike poses or talk. And then she just stood at ringside for the surprise bonus match of Tamina versus Ember Moon. How did that go over with the crowd? That was a loaded question, by the way.
It was funny because we found out, I think, when you guys found out, because it was clear when we went to commercial break because the lights went off and we got, video packages in the arena. And then when they came back, this is like, we saw the same promo, everything. And then they come back from commercial break and we heard JoJo say, as per Alexa Bliss, Ember Moon versus Tamina, one-on-one, and it was like, oh, okay. So the as per Alexa Bliss, it's not like Alexa made an announcement to us during the break. It was just like, okay, well, I guess here we go. And that's when everyone got up. There were other points where people got up for the bathroom, but that was like, everyone was like, yeah, this is the intentional throwaway bathroom break match because no one cared, which sucks because I love Ember Moon like a lot. I'm like, I don't care about this. I don't care about Tamina. Tamina's boring to me.
Yeah.
What is Ember Moon? Is she like a cosplay werewolf lady? Like what?
No, okay. You're asking me like what she is, what her character is. I guess. Yeah, she's got she's got like this Twilight vampire look going. I guess, but I don't know. I just love watching her in the ring, and when she does her entrances. This is my personal opinion. I just love her when she does her entrance and all of her poses and her facial expressions as a character, like she is that character, whatever it is. So
there's all these,
Twilight vampire kid, but she's in it 100%. And then she goes in the ring, and I watch her, and I'm like, these are really awesome, cool. Like her finisher is awesome. Like it's just cool to watch. So
did you like her as Athena? Like, were you a fan then, or is she new?
I didn't watch her much then, so I can't really speak to that. I'm aware of it. But as Ember Moon, I do love her. So I kind of want to go back and watch some of that stuff, but I haven't yet.
We need Vince to, understand who these characters are and then reintroduce them or introduce them to the larger audience. And he needs to understand what they're about so he can do something with them. Well,
they didn't do a great job in NXT. It's not like she had this history in NXT of being this well-defined kind of. But who is Ember Moon? She's a werewolf cosplay chick.
He needs to ask. He needs to ask that, or someone needs to ask that, and they need to communicate that anytime they introduce a new act. Like they're doing with Lars Sullivan. So
yeah.
If the show sucks, make it better starting now instead of talking on the air about how much you suck. What a terrible job you've done, but we're going to try to co-opt that into a storyline that makes no sense. Where we're trying to get heat on the heel because Vince McMahon and his writing team have driven away hundreds of thousands of viewers with awful television and overexposing the guy that you're now trying to get heel heat on once again. And granted, he had a nice main event match tonight. But just start writing good shows. Let's stop talking about how we suck and blaming a heel in ways that the heel has nothing within the storyline structure to do with, and instead just write a good show. Don't acknowledge how bad the show is. Because that no one's gonna have sympathy for. Oh well, yeah, like you're saying. Well, they're telling us we know we're bad. I'm like, I have a better idea. Just write a good show. Just start bringing people up who we care about, and write finishes. Book finishes that matter. Build up matches in a way where we care. So I just don't want to give them points for saying, oh yeah, you're right, we suck. But we're gonna try to blame it on Corbin in a way that makes so little sense that it just underlines that we don't know what we're doing.
Right. No, I agree with that. Like I said, there's a small part of me that's like, okay, Seth is acknowledging this, but that's where I felt weird. What you just said is why I felt weird about it.
Yeah.
So the crowd actually, what was funny is the crowd actually popped for it as soon as he said, however he phrased it, Raw has sucked lately or whatever. People cheered, which is great. Sort of good for Seth, but at the same time, it's in the back in Gorilla, you should not be proud of those.
Not good for anybody.
The fact
Seth can say, Baron Corbin, you're making a mockery of the decisions that you're making is undermining why we're all here. We're all here to figure out who the best wrestler is, and the deserving wrestler should be getting title shots. And when we battle in the ring, there should be a one-on-one match without outside interference. We can figure out who the better wrestler is. It's okay to say that because that is actually at the core of what this presentation of this product is all about. And it's not a show about nothing. It's not a show about putting smiles on people's faces. At the core, NYPD Blue was a show about cops putting bad guys in jail. It wasn't about actors having emotional scenes that made people. Why are you laughing? Because it's a '90s reference, Travis, or what do you?
I mean, you had to reach back so far.
Yeah,
I actually used to watch NYPD Blue with my parents. So.
It's our demo, Travis. It's our demo.
I did too.
R.I.P. Stephen Bachko.
Child thing.
I don't watch primetime TV anymore, so
you could have said Law and Order. That's more current, Wade.
Law and Order is about detectives arresting people, and then in the second half of the show, cops arresting people, in the second half of the show, lawyers convicting or trying to get a jury. Okay. So my point is WWE is a TV show about wrestlers fighting to win titles. Seth shouldn't come out there and talk about the writing sucks. Yeah, you wouldn't tune. Right. I'm gonna do this anyway, Travis. You wouldn't tune into NYPD Blue when they're halfway into a season with bad ratings and have one of the detectives say, the reason that things aren't going well, or that things aren't going well around here, this show has sucked lately, is because the writers have done a bad job casting villains. Like, you just don't do that in the middle of a show. So Seth can acknowledge the show has sucked, but do so in a more sophisticated way, where you're saying, Baron, you're making a mockery of things. Matches, you're making all these arbitrary decisions that's undermining the idea that the best wrestlers are the ones who are going to win matches. Like, there's a way to put some thought into that and make it work.
Yeah, so. And no Monday Night Football announce team would say, my ratings are down this year. It's a lot of reasons. If you don't want to do episode, TV, scripted TV to Raw and do they're simulated sports. So what do sports do? They would, any league would be like, what are you doing? That announcer is getting pulled off of, into meetings. Like, don't talk about how bad the ratings are unless we have a way to, or matter of fact, just shut up. Just talk about the game. That would be frowned upon. And if he did it again or she did it again, it would be a major problems.
Is WWE truly trying to correct a ratings issue? Has WWE literally been listening to Keller wisdom on his podcast the last couple of weeks, where it feels so far they mentioned every criticism in order you and your team have preached about in order? C, has WWE listened to all the criticisms, low ratings, general complaints, etc., and have chosen to make fun of its fan base's intelligence by directly mentioning it all on the air live? Or D, all of the above? No matter the answer you give, I look forward to listening to your podcast on my way to work in the morning more than ever after this episode. I mean, Travis, if that Seth promo, and I guess a little bit sprinkled here and there otherwise in commentary, was a way to say, okay, we kind of know, we're acknowledging, and, give us a few weeks. We got to get through Christmas and New Year's because those are going to be, pre-taped shows and, whatever. By the way, they should work hard to deliver on those shows, because that's when casual fans who have tuned out are sometimes hanging out with their family, if groups get together with their families get together, and somebody might say, hey, let's turn on WWE, and someone says, I haven't watched in a while. That's a chance to win some people back who they're out of their routine and they would never watch you otherwise. So I think WWE should try to do a good job of those shows, but
it might get out. The results of that show will get on the internet, Wade.
All the more reason they should make it a hell of a show, so people go, I got to tune in to see that. If I hear a movie's great, I'm going to go see the movie, not go to it, because
go Rotten Tomatoes 100%, the new Spider-Verse thing. I think that's going to make people go, oh, everybody else likes it. I think not everybody's seen it. I don't know.
Or it already happened.
Yeah.
What? So no, I did. It did cross my mind that they were sort of like the criticisms they were acknowledging, as much as I disagree with the framing of it. I was like, wow, this is kind of like bullet points of what I've been talking about and callers and co-hosts have been venting about. So, I don't know what else to say about that other than, that did cross my mind, Stephen. All right, let's see what is up next.
But it is insulting when they acknowledge and then still do the things.
Like, Baron Corbin, you're the reason Raw's ratings are going downhill. Baron Corbin in a 30-minute main event. I mean, it was good, but it is a little ironic, I'm glad that Apollo asked Sasha if he could grab her crotch and lift her into the air before he did it. I think that was good of him.
I missed that.
He's like, can I pick you up? Or no, Sasha said, Apollo, pick me up and throw me onto Apollo and the Singh brothers. And I think it's good Sasha told him to do it, because it is kind of like where his hand is. It's not really go without permission, even if it's a wrestling thing. So I think that's why they did
even
that.
If you're a star and they let you do it.
Yes. So yeah, the imagery there was such rude. The woman should have definitely. It should be her idea with permission. And I think that's nitpicking a little. I mean, I guess it's a human body being thrown at three people. I mean, it's cartoonish, because everything Jinder and the Singh brothers do is cartoonish, and that's
former WWE champion Jinder Mahal.
By the way, you can improve Raw by getting and I hate saying this about people who are earning a living and he works so hard and all, good attitude, all that, but you can make Raw better by subtracting the Singh brothers and Jinder and bringing in almost anybody from anywhere else in the world. Like in NXT, just it's, but you can, like, that's the thing. Like,
Totally.
There comes a point where, like, a character is just dragging things down. There's nothing you can do with him. He's been to the top. Nobody cared. Now he's done this weird meditation thing that's supposed to make him a heel that only Vince McMahon thinks is heelish. And because it's some other culture and, millennials, that I don't know what he's thinking. And his matches aren't good. His promos aren't good. The Singh brother sidekicks are just copying what Drake Maverick's doing. Now it's duplicitous. Just grab almost anybody from NXT, bring in the main roster, add some fresh blood, and move Jinder to 205 Live to be like a manager. I don't care. But, like, there's easy ways to improve Raw. They have this deep roster full of people. And a world out there. And they have money. Like, all the money they need. They could hire anybody. And that's who they're putting on television.
I was actually literally thinking about the Jinder Mahal character a day or two ago, thinking how he could have been the wrestling version of Jim Cornette, his early, Mama Cornette paid for everything. Oh, wow. Like, like I looked at him as he could have been the tough guy version of Raj from Big Bang Theory, where he's just completely dependent on his parents and he needs daddy's money, and except he'll punch you in the face. And I thought they missed when they initially turned him and pushed him to the top. Like, if he was kind of a spoiled, it would have made a lot more sense. I thought
totally, like,
with that character.
His gimmick didn't have to be all about just because he's from Canada, but just because he's quote from India doesn't have to be his gimmick. Like, you can actually have someone who's not of a Caucasian person of European descent and actually have a gimmick that isn't just focused exclusively on the fact that they came from this exotic place as Vince sees it. It's like, no, he can actually be what Kona Reeves is. Only the finest things combined with, like you said, Jim Cornette, everything handed to him on a silver platter, and you could turn that into something. And
and daddy's money comes from, their tea company or something. I don't know, whatever if you got to get your stereotypes in. But that could have been, he comes from, Indian money, East Indian money, whatever kind of thing they could have had. But now he's right. But yes, I made my point.
Yeah, very good. All right, John M., VIP member, Ripon, California, says, hey, Wayne and Travis, 2 questions about Drew McIntyre. Do you think him taking out Finn last week will lead to the Demon appearing at TLC? I'll be going to TLC this Sunday and would love to see that in person. I think it's set up perfect for it, but I can't see Vince McMahon and creative wanting to beat Drew again. But also, the only good thing they've done with Finn is protect the Demon. He hasn't lost as the Demon on the main roster and only 1 loss in NXT. So maybe it's a way to give Finn a win, or could they want to give Drew the win over Demon? Would like your thoughts on this. Second, Drew dropped The Undertaker's name tonight in his promo. Is this the first seed planted for a Mania match? Maybe it's a second seed. I could definitely see Drew Undertaker as a way to give Drew a rub by having a match Taker win or lose. That would be a prominent spot for him. But it was about streaks, and it's a natural thing to bring up otherwise. It didn't seem out of left field. So I wouldn't read too much into it, but I also wouldn't exclude that as a possibility. Travis, your thoughts on that and the Demon character and the conundrum of the finish?
Yeah, I'm hoping to never see another Undertaker match, so I don't care who it's against. So no,
there is that.
But as far as the Finn, I don't think it's time for the Demon. I think I don't see it as set up as perfectly as you do. I thought the way they did it against Corbin a few months ago, I think it was SummerSlam maybe, where he came in, got out. You got to see the Demon, and he got the win in his quick fashion. I don't want to see the Demon lose, and I definitely don't want to see. I should say I don't want to see McIntyre lose at this point, and I definitely don't want to see.
Yeah, that's a conundrum.
The Demon.
I think they should say. I get what John's saying, and I know he's got kind of the self-interest in it. But I think if you can't do a clean finish, and they shouldn't do either clean finish, Drew shouldn't lose again, and the Demon shouldn't lose. So yeah, a tough situation. So I guess I would save it.
And
for
it's
Mania.
A TFC. It's a gimmick situation, so you can protect Finn with the finish.
Right.
There's creative ways to do that. as Finn Balor losing to Drew McIntyre. There's a million ways to do that, but I don't think there's any good way to have Drew beat Finn Demon. No matter how you do it.
Yeah. All right. Zach in Texas says, under the impression Vince McMahon lived in the combined motto of if you ignore criticism, it doesn't exist, and if you acknowledge it, it gives the critics power. So how on earth did this episode of Raw make air? Not only was it more self-reflective than any Raw I can remember, but they outright acknowledged the bad ratings and Baron Corbin's role in it. No, they didn't. They made up things that Baron Corbin wasn't responsible for. I waited till the end of the show to send this email because I was fully expecting a server and Corbin to walk out with the Intercontinental title belt as a metaphorical middle finger to Vince, but it didn't happen. The one place where they were still a little tone deaf was putting the mic back in Nia Jax's hand. No, she was all right. The promo was okay. The promo wasn't as bad as her last one, which isn't saying much. I was okay with that one. But what was with the random and unnecessary scream? Yeah, that can go away, by the way. Overmodulating like that is never a good thing in any character, and it's a really amateur hour to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Eric G, VIP from Charlotte. VIP member. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did Rollins win the match tonight with no referee to call the bell? I saw Heath Slater get taken out, but I didn't see another official run to the ring to call the finish, meaning the match just ended without anybody with power to stop a match declaring it over. Yes, Rollins clearly won based on the rules, but if the timekeeper, ring announcer, and arena music engineer can all coordinate a winner in a ladder match, why did we ever need a referee in the 25-plus year history of this stipulation? This is definitely a this happened because it was written in the script moment, and it's stuff like this why I can't watch more than 20 to 30 minutes total of Raw each week. Have a good show. So there's someone backing up what I was saying. Write better shows, and then you'll have people who care about this stuff.